Welcome back to Withdraw Consent. I'm Jack. I had this interesting thing happen to me. I was watching this video by Mark Dice. I'll link it in the description. It's just a totally different channel, and if you're interested in seeing it, I think there's value in it. He was doing this episode, and he was talking about the white lady who said the N-word to the child in the park, the child had stolen something from her bag or whatever, and he was talking about black fatigue, and he was talking about that how the AI lies to you about the black fatigue. Like, black fatigue is really people getting tired of black people stealing stuff and being loud, obnoxious, and all this other stuff. And then the Chat GPT or even the Grok will lie to you and say that it's actually black people who are fatigued by systemic racism and all of that. And so I had this thing happen to me where I was listening to this and I'm like, wait, is the entire thing I'm doing with this channel wrong? Because I'm going so far into stuff that you have to be down a certain road, a certain distance to even comprehend this, which you can tell by the comments on YouTube when a video gets too many views, because it hits the algorithm a little bit, like especially the Talmud video. And so many people aren't far down that road. And so what we've always tried to do is we've tried to do the upstream stuff instead of dealing with culture war stuff downstream. That has a problem, and we want to deal with what's the solution to that problem. And the conundrum I had was, if people don't even understand what the problem is, then the guy talking about potential solutions over here is going to look like a whack job, because they're multiple levels away from digesting that type of information. And so I had that crisis, and then I was talking to Victor about it, and basically what Victor was watching and subscribing to, paying money to Ben Shapiro, like, I don't know, 10 to 15 years ago. I'm not sure exactly where. And so Ben Shapiro was a necessary part of Victor's development, which is interesting, right? So we came up together with this theory, right? We need a Mark Dice, but we also need a Ben Shapiro, because if Ben Shapiro can pull people with values into being interested in politics, even though his politics are trash, right? Then that's a necessary stepping stone. And then there's all these different levels of stepping stones, and all of them are very important. And if I'm doing end game upstream content, there necessarily would be a smaller viewership for it. And so it's not the way to go, like, if you want to make money or turn it into a business or become profitable, but that's okay, because there's necessary stepping stones along the way. So like Mark Dice is a stepping stone, but he's a pretty advanced stepping stone if you're on Mark Dice, because Mark Dice knows the things and hints at even the end things that I'm actually talking about. And then he has a 2-level system where he attracts people on YouTube, and then on a topic, before he goes too far to lose his audience, he'll flash like a news article on the screen, and he'll say, well, I can't even read this on YouTube, but if you want to see more about this, I talked about this the other day on my locals. And then if they're of the higher level of his audience, they can jump over to locals. So he's even taken down 2 levels. But so you have like a Steven Crowder would be above a Ben Shapiro, but I'm not going to talk bad about him. He's a step. He's definitely below Mark Dice. You have Alex Jones. That's an important step for a lot of people, because I got a lot of people in the comments. It's Alex Jones gets him into stuff. And so what I'm saying is, if you were to take somebody who's at a much lower step than you, and you were to berate them because Ben Shapiro's trash, he's just trash, I would deport that dude so quick. Just a lack of loyalty, But if I'm talking, or you are in conversation with somebody and they're like, yeah, Ben Shapiro said this, Ben Shapiro said that. Well, that's good. That's better than political inactivity. That's better than not paying attention to what's going on and just being a sports ball person, right? So before I came up with this idea, I would think about, what do you say to a Ben Shapiro fan? But there's all these different levels. And if I look at Victor as a former Ben Shapiro fan, and then I see where he's at now, I think that it's great that there is a Ben Shapiro, that there is a Steven Crowder, an Alex Jones, a Mark Dice, and then it just keeps going up. But there needs to be a person at every step. There needs to be content at every step is what I mean. And so basically what I found out is I need to keep doing the same content I'm doing, because it's at a certain step that these other guys aren't doing, don't even know about a lot of times. Some of them do. I'm pretty sure Alex Jones knows. And then he's untruthful at a certain point. Or Yeah, he's untruthful because you're allowed to leave it out, but if you say the lie, then you're being disingenuous. And Mark Dice knows the things, but his content is not for people who are farther. He's got 2 levels of content. So the value here of this episode, though, is that number one, don't berate people if they're at a lower level, even if it's much lower. If they're just sports ball fans and they don't pay attention, you berate them, whatever. Because what do you got to lose at that point, you know? But what we should be doing is we should be encouraging people to get to the next step. So to get a Ben Shapiro fan to become a Steven Crowder fan is a big accomplishment, right? To get a Steven Crowder fan to become a Mark Dice fan is a big accomplishment. And that's kind of the idea that I'm pitching to you here. It's not trying to get people to come to my channel or nothing like that, because if you guys are here, you guys know about a lot of advanced stuff. So, but it's about getting people who are lower just to step up one level. And whatever the levels, because I'm talking about people that I know about. You could be in a different group. Like, for example, we got watchers who are Catholic and they have all types of Catholic content, and they've been sending me some, and it's very interesting. But I don't know any of these YouTubers. I don't know anything about this. And so they might have their own steps for Catholic friends who watch Catholic YouTube, and that they're offering different people who I don't even know the names of. That's fine. Like whatever brand of politics you do, you know who the stepping stones are, and you can make your own list in your mind and then try to promote people to different stepping stones. I think it's an interesting idea. There has to be content, and the more the better at every level, so that people have those different variations. The Catholic version of Ben Shapiro at the lowest level, you know, like every different variation needs it in order to get as many people advanced. And necessarily when you get to the higher and higher you go, there's going to be less people who get up there, but it's our goal to try to promote people to get there. Anyways, that's what I got for you. I thought it was kind of an interesting idea. Came out of a crisis I had about this channel, and I hope you guys have a good weekend, and I hope to have episodes for you next week. Things are up in the air. I did an update video. I hope to. Anyways, have a great weekend.